Thank you for joining us for the 2-minute drills. I'm Aram Talegian, joined by Steve Ramirez, and behind the camera, Fred J. Robledo. We are talking about the Southeast Division. Freddie, you having a good time snapping back there?
Yeah.
We're talking about the Southeast Division Elite 8, and a big game going down between two traditional powers in the Valley. You just get goosebumps.
Mighty Mustangs.
Yes, Mighty Mustangs. Muir 10-1, hosting Los Altos 9-2. It feels so good to say that because two traditional powers, Stevie, Freddie. It's just, it's so natural. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, this game will be going down at Muir High School, the home of the Mustangs, which is where last week they advanced in the first round by beating La Mirada, and Los Altos advanced at home as well by beating Paramount. Let's get right into this game. The guy that's making the headlines right now, the guy that has become, has thrown himself very, very much into the Star News Player of the Year race. Day Williams, DeJohn Williams, the quarterback at Muir, 6 touchdown passes last week, 2 interceptions. He took both back to the house. One of them was called back. The second one stood. Stevie, this is a guy that's just having a fantastic year. And now he's doing it in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back in summer, that was the big question mark of who Muir would have at quarterback, and he's answered all those questions. I think he's throwing for over 200 yards a game, probably accounting for about 300. He's throwing touchdowns. He's probably the main reason. It's a team game, but he's probably the main reason that they've just lost one game this season.
Yeah, Freddie, any thoughts on Day Williams and the Stangs being in the Elite 8, man? I know you're kind of a big Muir historian.
Well, and that comes back from, both of my parents graduated at Muir. I'm not going to hide that fact. I used to be down there in the 80s when they were rolling with Brownfield and they were winning championships. And look, this is great for Muir because everyone's talked about this might possibly be their B team, that a lot of, 20, 25 transfers playing in other areas. It just shows you the kind of talent that goes through Altadena and Muir. And these guys that are left, they have a lot of pride and they're playing good. I know, Aram, you picked against them last week against La Mirada. And this for me with Los Altos coming in after a win like that, it could be a trap game, Steve, because if you remember Muir over the years, that they're a team that plays in a lot of emotion, and they just had a big emotional win, a game where a lot of people were telling them they were probably going to lose, and they won that game. And here comes Los Altos, a team that is every bit as hungry. That had they went out earlier than they wanted to in the playoffs last year. I think they thought they were going to go deep, and they're a 9-2 team, a team that's played great, that's physical, that is capable of beating a team like Muir. So I'll be really curious how these two. I think it's a great matchup, and we'll get into our predictions a little later. But I think this is one of those games that I wouldn't be surprised if it went one way or the other.
Well, you have to give a lot of credit to the coaches at both schools. I mean, these are kind of under different circumstances. Two guys that have just done a phenomenal coaching job, and they absolutely have to be, Freddie. I know we haven't mentioned Ziola's name enough for Tribune Coach of the Year yet, but we really should. And obviously, Coach John Hardy in the Pasadena area, I'm sure, is easily in your short list of guys for the Star News Coach of the Year. But you look at the two situations these guys have been through. That Los Altos program was dead and buried after Gano left. They went through Felipe Aguilar. They went through Jim Arianes. And then they hired Dale Ziola, some guy we had never heard of.
Right.
And he immediately comes in and he did things his way, Freddie. He started with that midnight practice. He's done all these kind of quirky things. He's really done things his way, put his own stamp on it. And now, like I said, when I covered that game against West Covina a few weeks ago, all their people on their sideline were talking nonstop about how they're keeping their kids home now. They're not leaving. And that's a big thing for Los Altos.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, Los Altos and Muir, that's what it's all about. And you do that, you've seen it over the years, you do that when you win. If Los Altos continues on, the winner of this, the real benefit is next year and the years after, when you go deep in the playoffs, kids want to stay. And these are two places that have always grown, always had talent.
Huge momentum for the programs.
Right, and the great thing for us is one of these teams are going to be in the semifinals. We get to follow them another week, and I think the winner is going to have a really, really good shot at getting to the championship. I mean, you have that game also, Diamond Bar, Lacerna, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But, I mean, what a great, you think about the teams that you have in the Southeast right now in the quarterfinals. you've got some great matchups.
And then we want to mention John Hardy, the job he's done. We talk about it. A Muir insider at the Crescenta Valley game a few weeks ago told me that he estimated that 30 players, they actually kind of sat down and went through this, looked around at like Crespi's roster, Alamini's roster, and Oaks Christian, obviously, and even other privates around Pasadena. 30 players, Stevie, that are not that would be Muir Mustangs that are not in the program. And here, a lot of people are saying Coach Hardy is doing this with his B team. I don't think Day Williams is a B team player, nor do I think Tayon Mason, the receiver, is. But I mean, he really is not doing it with all the talent that otherwise would be his in that area.
Yeah, I mean, he's
scary.
I mean, Coach Howard did a pretty good job, and he's kind of taken what he started, where some people question the hire, and he's what he's done the last.
It was another hire like Ziola, where I was like, who?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, he's taken the program to another level the last 2 years with back-to-back Pacific League titles. They went to the quarters last year, and lost to West Covina. If I remember that was a close game. So this is another opportunity for them to get back to the semis.
And that's good to hear, because the issue with Muir, even though they've lost a lot of talent, is they've always had talent. It's their discipline in big games and playoffs in recent years. They used to be penalty field, or they would do stupid things, and they couldn't put 2 or 3 really good games together. That sounds like something, listening to Aaron, listening to Steve, who's watched them this year, that has changed. And if you have that, like I said, in the Southeast Division, this isn't Division 1 or 2. They're not in there playing St. Francis or those other teams. They have enough talent in the Southeast Division, if they're organized, if they're playing right, to win a championship or be right there. And you're seeing that right now with Muir, and it's great. And you're seeing it with Los Altos.
You hit it right on the head, Freddie. You and I were at the Bonita playoff game a couple years ago when Muir had like 3 or 4 straight penalties without even snapping the ball. Those days are gone. They play with much more discipline, much more focus. They still have that swag, you know what I'm saying? That Muir has, which makes their games so fun. And they have a DJ, which also makes their games fun. But they play with a lot more discipline. There was a situation at the end of the La Mirada games where some kids kind of got into it on the field. La Mirada's a little frustrated, and that's fine. You see it at the end of the games. And you'd have thought that in the past the Muir kids would have overreacted. And I was actually interviewing Day Williams at the time, and there was still 40 seconds on the clock. And I thought, this kid might go out there. I'm thinking to myself, he's going to get a look at this, and he's going to, see his boys, getting in some trouble or fighting. He may go out there and leave the bench, cost himself. And instead of doing that, he tells me, let's just go down here and talk. I was blown away. I was going to tackle him if he tried to come out there and get myself in some trouble. So everything's changed, man. Coach Hardy's done a great job. Let's get into picking this game. We don't have much time left. This is a really tough one. Coach Burke and Coach Ziola over at Los Altos, these are 2 cagey dudes. They know what to do. They're going to try and keep Muir's offense off the field by using their own offense. I don't think you can do it. I think Day Williams is one of the top 2 or 3 players in the division. I know Muir fans are going to be stunned. I'm picking Muir in this game.
Wow. Reverse. Steve, what do you got?
I got Muir as well. I mean, I think it's going to be a tight game, and like Aaron said, Los Altos is going to try to control the clock, but Muir's big plays capabilities are just going to be too much for them.
You're right, Aaron. Muir doesn't like it when everybody's picking them, and we're going to make it 3 for 3. I'm taking them too. Look, this is the wise guy pick. That Aaron called that when I made it before the playoffs began. I picked Muir to go all the way to the finals because I felt Lucerna was the best team in the division, and them being on the opposite side with the record that they have. And I keep saying their only loss was to an Alamany, a team still alive in the Pac-5 playoffs, a team they played very well for a big portion of that game. So I'm believing in Muir. And with them, no one embraces their tradition better than Muir does. And I think those players are fired up. They've got something to prove. And this is the year. I think they're going to get all the way to the dance.
Yeah, and I want to say this, though, Freddie. The Muir fans were yelling last week, this isn't Artesia. This isn't Artesia. Well, this isn't La Mirada, Muir fans. Los Altos will come to play. It'll be a
This
very
ain't
good
4
game.
and 6. This is 9 and 2.
Enjoy the game. I'll be out there. Enjoy it.